Hey all you YouTube mechanic and do-it-yourselfers out there. Thanks for joining me for another video. Idaho Wybert here, coming to you from my garage, overlooking the engine compartment of my 2005 Kia Sedona. This will be video 2 of my Kia Sedona starter replacement. Why video 2, you ask? Well, sometimes you could buy rebuilt parts from the store and they go out. I've usually had pretty good luck, but in this case I didn't. It was right at a year, a little bit over a year, and the starter went out again. Thank you very much to the good people at O'Reilly. They were able to get my starter replaced without a problem, without question, so big thumbs up and thank you to those guys. The reason why I'm doing this video is because there was a lot of great comments, suggestions, tips, and tricks left on the comment section of my last video that I really liked, used to help me replace the starter again and save me a lot of time. John, I believe it's possibly Sortori, thank you very much for your comment. Big thing John said was getting underneath the van and doing everything from underneath. Saved all the time from having to remove all the stuff from the top. The air filter casing, the hoses, you do not have to remove all that because you're doing everything from the bottom. So get up underneath the van. He suggested, or he used, a universal joint. If you're not sure what a universal joint is, this is a universal joint, kind of bends, moves, to gets in tight corners and awkward spaces. So when I used mine, or tried to use mine, I don't know if it was just too gummed up and not clean, but it didn't work too well. So I used a 3/8 extension, a little bit shorter than the combination of the socket and universal joint. Was able to get right to both the nut off of the stud and the top or the bottom bolt. Worked great for me. Got that disconnected. This time I did not have the tools, which I borrowed from my neighbor last time, to drop the exhaust pipe, to take the nuts off of the exhaust pipe there and pull it down. So unfortunately I had to kind of figure out a way to do it, kept working at it. I finally figured out a way to get that darn heat shield out of there without moving that exhaust pipe. It took a little bit of time, but so I'm going to pass that on to you now. Hopefully, if you don't have the tools to get that exhaust pipe dropped, this is what you can do. If you have the tools, you can take those nuts off really quick, drop that exhaust pipe. It's just that much easier. So we'll get under the van. I'll show you how I kind of disconnected the starter, keeping the heat shield and the starter together. I was able to rotate it upward and then pull that heat shield off, kind of pull it out from the exhaust pipe. Took a little bit of work, but pull it out, and then just like a puzzle piece, you got to kind of remember how it goes back in. So you'll see that in the video. Kind of manipulate it back in there, put things back to put the heat shield and starter back together, and then put it back down into place and connect everything again. So let's get to the video so you can get to your replacement and get your vehicle back on the road. Thanks again to everybody who subscribed and liked my video. Please do the same to this, and leave me any comments you have, any other suggestions, and I hope you like this video. Alright, so if you're doing all the work from the top, like we discussed in the last video, you remove kind of all this stuff through here. I'm going to try to get down there to show you the location where that nut was. Some people asked, where's that nut? And I tried to show you pretty good the last video. Try to see if I can get the camera down there to get you a better view. So this piece right here, just to the right side of it, you're going to get down there and hopefully, not sure if you can see it or not, you can see the hole where that bolt comes through, and you'll attach that nut to. Alright everybody, let's get to work here. Something I didn't really talk about too much in the last video was the O2 sensor. You will have to kind of get that out of your way to work up here easily, to get your hand up in there to manipulate that starter in and out. So, and you'll just reconnect that. One thing I found is that putting the O2 sensor back in is when you first start, you got to kind of twist it up a little bit. Not too much to where you're twisting it out of itself, but you're going to twist it up, and that way when you set it in and start threading it, it twists back to normal, to kind of a normal position when it's finally in there. Otherwise you'll just keep tightening and tightening, and you'll wind this thing up really bad when it's tight. So twist it first, set it down in there, and then as it loosens up, it'll kind of twist to normal to when it finally becomes tight. Okay. So now, just right up through here, it's got to come up to the side. Start redoing this nut here. It's a little too loose to ratchet, so I got to try to work it. But you can see how you can just reach right up underneath here with this short extension, and the socket on there, and get this taken care of from underneath rather than removing all the stuff from up top. So that should work. Let's see right up in there where you can get your ratchet. Alright, so we'll kind of go from the first stages of taking the heat shield off. The bottom bolt here of the starter is already disconnected. I've disconnected the top nut here. Your electrical is connected up top. So when you're removing it, I disconnected those, disconnected the nut from the end of the starter here. I've disconnected the bolt here that runs into the heat shield to hold that on so it's loose. The starter's loose too. What you're going to do is just kind of keep it together, and in one move, well, not just one movement, but you're going to move them together, pull them out, and kind of get the stud out of the way. Then just kind of pull the top part of the heat shield down and slide it out. So from here you completely pull the heat shield down, and then disconnect. You can set the starter back in, that way you can reach your electrical connections at the very top, and the starter will just kind of hang there holding up by the post that's in there. Alright, so not sure how well you're going to be able to see all this, but I'll put it on here just in case to see if it helps you. You never know. So you got a nut and a washer, terminal post of your starter here. Move that bad boy. Set it off to the side, because of course you will need to put it back on. Set that aside or drop it aside, whichever. Just hope you find it again after you drop it. Alright, so now we got that washer off there. Alright, so we're going to seat the new starter up in there and reconnect it. Sorry if my hands get in the way here, but I'll try to keep them out as much as possible. Let's see how it goes. So, get this starter back up in here. Rotate it ever so carefully towards the back of the van. Make sure your electrical's out of the way so you're not pinching it. Line up the top stud. Electrical's out of the way. And seat it up in there. Alright. So now that that's up in there, we'll reconnect the electrical. Move the camera a little bit here. As you see, you have the connection post here, which this connection will go onto, and then of course your washer and nut will go over top of that, and this connection here will go right on top of here. pop it down in there. Make sure the boot fits over it properly so it protects it. And then we'll finish connecting the electrical and then show you how to get that heat shield back up in there. The starter I just have connected. It's not even tightened down. It's just kind of holding up in there with the top post of the starter that's connected to the starter. So I can see really kind of move it out in and out as I need to, which is what you'll need to do to be able to get the heat shield down without loosening up the exhaust. So get the starter up in there, make sure you tighten down the connection, get that all nice and tight. You will need to tighten this down before getting the heat shield up there. Otherwise you won't be able to get to it afterwards. Alright. So we got that connection tightened down. Now what you need to do is you just need to kind of get the heat shield worked up in there. Alright, so putting it back on. You got your electrical connections done up top. You're going to pull the starter out and away. The heat shield comes up through here. You're going to lift the starter up again. You got to line it up with the heat shield. Okay. So we got it lined up. Get your stud hole lined up with the top of the block there and fit it right back in. So that's how you get the heat shield off and then reinstalled without dropping the exhaust. Hope that works out better for you. Alright, so as you can see, I got the van back up and running again. I hope this video helps you as much as the last one did. And hopefully a little bit quicker than last time.